Rabbi covers Israeli sports from basketball to soccer and many more. For hard-hitting opinions and thoughts, the Sports Rabbi Josh Halickman gives it all.
All right, we're back with the Sports Rabbi Josh Halickman. Boy, that was quite an amazing Israel State Cup semifinal derby matchup between Maccabi Tel Aviv and Hapoel Tel Aviv. It was crazy. It was nuts. It was on the court. It was off the court. It was in the press conference. It was a hell of a matchup and a hell of an evening. That is for sure in the arena in Jerusalem. Of course, Sports Rabbi Josh Halickman here with Sports Rabbi Rants. This is episode number 2, of course. First episode came out last night talking all about the Israel State Cup first semifinal game that Hapoel Jerusalem defeated Bnei Herzliya. Of course, back-to-back nights of great basketball action here in the holy city of Jerusalem, and we were treated to yet another amazing, incredible game. It was just absolutely fantastic. It's the best of the best that we got. High-quality basketball, 2 teams that wanted it so badly, awesome play, players that came out and really put it all on the line, showing character, showing drive, showing love, showing passion. It was an absolute prime evening that the Israel Basketball Association definitely loved the product on the court. May not have loved what went on afterwards in the press conferences, but we'll get to that in a little bit. Maccabi Tel Aviv clips Hapoel Tel Aviv in overtime, 95-93. Rokas Jokubaitis, first year with Maccabi Tel Aviv, 27 points, 8 assists. Roman Sorokin, 22 points, grabbed 8 rebounds. Levi Randolph, 21 points, 8 boards as well. Yam Madar was spectacular for Hapoel Tel Aviv with 23 points. Tomer Ginat, 19 points. Jonathan Motley, 15 points in the loss. But it was much more than that. This is what basketball is supposed to be. It is end-to-end action from the beginning to the end. Oded Katash's men, Dimitrios Sotudis' squad. It was an absolute battle of the Titans on the Jerusalem arena floor. There was close to 11,000 fans packed in, red on one side, yellow on the other. The atmosphere was terrific. It was a wonderful basketball experience. And that is exactly what you want to get out of these type of State Cup games that are one game knocked out and you go on. With the win, Maccabi Tel Aviv gets the way to Hapoel Jerusalem in the final on Thursday night. And we'll get to that, of course, over the next couple of days. But let's take a deep dive into this game a little bit over here right now. Rokas Jokubaitis, who had come over from Barcelona, has been in the EuroLeague for 6 years, 23, 24 years old, young guy, Lithuanian, decides to come to play for Maccabi Tel Aviv, Oded Katash. He's given the keys somewhat for the first time in his career. He had been a player, role player, coming off the bench, playing half the games. Many of the ACB regular season games in the Spanish league, he would play for Barcelona. Of course, before that, 3 years prior, he also played for Zalgiris, but never had the lead role. Finally has that lead role with Maccabi Tel Aviv. And I remember talking to Oded Katash numerous times about this throughout the season, that he's still trying to find his way transitioning from that guard that, would have a role, but wasn't totally relied on game in, game out, to a player that is a legitimate leader of the team. And boy, did he lead. He was slicing and dicing to the hoop. He was fantastic. He showed guile. He took off-balance jumpers. He hit his shots wherever he was taking them, whether it was from deep, whether it was inside the arc, whether it was driving to the hoop. He was just wonderful. That's exactly what Maccabi Tel Aviv had wanted to see from Rokas Jokubaitis. And it takes time. Spoke to Oded Katash in the press conference about it. They talked about just saying what kind of great person Rokas Jokubaitis is. And he's so young. He still has so much potential. And it was just unbelievable to see how excited he was after the game, to see how excited he was to celebrate with the fans, to see how excited he was to pick up a big win. And there's been a year for Maccabi Tel Aviv, let's be honest, with not a lot of big wins. Poor season in the EuroLeague, frustration. You listen to Rokas Jokubaitis many times after press conferences, after games and press conferences, and you can hear his disappointment. Another game, we have to be better than that. We have to look better. We have cup games coming up. We can't look how we looked against, Barcelona or whoever else we've just lost to in the EuroLeague. We have to really bring it together. The guys have to come together. And it was just so wonderful to be able to see this young man take the ball and just do as he pleased. And on the other side of the court, it was wonderful to watch Yamadar. Yamadar, of course, has not had one of the best seasons, not had a couple great seasons the past couple of years. He's been in and out of lineups, Fenerbahce. He did have time at Partizan Belgrade where he was great, but this year he started at Bayern Munich and it was a disaster. Still trying to find his niche at this version of Hapoel Tel Aviv, and boy was he wonderful again this game. He took the ball and he just did magic with it. If it was hitting his three-pointers, if it was going to the rim, if it was taking the ball into the hole, Yamadar was just spectacular for Hapoel Tel Aviv. And it was a back-and-forth game throughout. And Hapoel Tel Aviv did have a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter, but Maccabi Tel Aviv was able to chip it down and chip it down and chip it down. And eventually, they were actually winning Maccabi Tel Aviv 87-85 with a few seconds left. Jonathan Motley comes in off of a timeout, dunks the ball. Game goes to overtime. And in the overtime period, it's neck and neck again. Yamadar hitting free throws and Levi Randolph making some great plays. But Maccabi Tel Aviv came out on top, 95-93 winners. John DiBartolomeo hit front end of 2 free throws as the game ticked away. And that was that for Maccabi Tel Aviv. Hapoel Tel Aviv's fans sat stunned in disbelief as to what happened to their team against Maccabi Tel Aviv. Of course, they had, this is the second time they lost in a derby game. Of course, this game was a lot different because it was a knockout game, and that's going to sting a lot more. And it definitely stung the coaching staff, and we got to see that full-fledged in the post-game press conference when we got to see Demetrius Tutis roll into the press conference with a huge TV screen, computer hooked up to it, showing the assembled press plays where he was questioning the defense, why things weren't called by the referees. Is this a foul? Is it not a foul? And yes, the referees miss calls. We all get that. There are hundreds of calls that the referees are going to have throughout the game. So they're going to miss some. Did they have a little bit of leeway near the end? Was there a foul on Yamadar on the shot at the end of regulation time that was after the buzzer? Was there foul on that? Probably yes. It certainly looked like it. The referees decided not to call it. I'd say 9 times out of 10, the referees are never going to call that in any type of game. But you can't come into a press conference and try to show up the referees. You just don't look good. Demetrius Tutis is a 2-time EuroLeague championship coach. He's won at every level. He commands respect. He is an X and O guy extraordinaire. He is a wonderful basketball coach, a character, somebody that's always has something to say, and it's interesting to always listen to him in these press conferences. And it certainly was very interesting to listen to him at 1 o'clock in the morning, trying to analyze plays while the press and myself are sitting there just shaking our heads and with smirks on our face. It's just like, we could sit through a game and you can analyze hundreds of plays. And I think David Blatt even mentioned this once upon a time, that at the end of the day, there's going to be so many plays that you can complain about and talk about. They want to protest the game, but they're going to protest, they're not going to protest. Let's be honest, they're not going to win the protest. What they may win is that later on in the season, when there will be a closer game, and there will be maybe, perhaps, a championship on the line in the regular season between a Maccabi or a Hapoel Jerusalem, Hapoel Tel Aviv, maybe, just maybe, this episodic show of TV and video and replays will pay off down the road. It is possible. And that is probably what Hapoel Tel Aviv wanted to get out of this. They know that they're not going to change the results, but they can affect the future. you can see on our social media, especially on Twitter or X, the comments are just flying in about it, and it's entertaining. It's just funny to see. It's kind of not where you want to see these games end off, and it was just such a good basketball game. You don't want to see all this extracurricular activity afterwards, and that's kind of unfortunate. But every team has their thoughts behind what they want to do and why they want to do it, and it is a game of up-one'smanship and marksmanship, and that's exactly what Hapoel Tel Aviv wants to do over here. So we shall see what kind of effect this will have later on this season. There was a pretty good crew out there tonight, led by Sefi Shemesh, who was a EuroLeague referee, one of the top referees in Israel, if not the top referee in Israel. And I've seen bad games of him called. I've seen good games of him called. I think we've seen everything from him, and that's fine. To put on the show that they did, again, in this press conference with the TV screen and the computer hooked up to it, was a little bit too much. I think, when they rolled in with that, I think we were all just like, oh my goodness. And we've seen this before. We've seen this in the Greek League, and I believe that Etudis had done this one time in the past as well. And of course, what's interesting enough, and we really didn't get to it today, is Patrick Beverley, but there's a famous picture of Patrick Beverley with a camera showing the referee while he was playing with the Los Angeles Lakers, and somebody posted that up on the timeline as well. So that was kind of entertaining. But listen, basketball's fun. Sports are fun. Yes, it's the living of these players and the coaches. Ultimately, it's for the fans. The fans had a good time tonight. It was good, clean fun. It was what we needed. It was just a terrific game. And last but not least, I have to mention that it was wonderful to see one of the hostages, female soldier, Daniela Gilboa, in attendance. She was sitting in the first row in the corner at the game, and it was just great to see her back, smiling. She was held by Hamas for close to 500 days in the tunnels of Gaza. And Oded Katash just spoke about, getting back to normal. And we can only really get back to normal where every single hostage is returned home. And that really ultimately, games are fun, but ultimately this is real life. And we're starting to see some more and more hostages coming back, not looking exactly as well as some of the first few hostages that came back. And that can't happen. There's going to be some very interesting days ahead for this country, and we'll have to keep an eye on it. But it was good to see her back in the arena. It was fun. It was good excitement. Lots of stuff going on. And of course, if you enjoy this, and I hope you do, make sure you subscribe, like, send it out to your friends. We're going to try to do this every single day, give you a little taste of Israeli action. That's what we're going to try to do over here. So check us out at the Sports Rabbi, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, sportsrabbi.com for the latest and greatest news, both in English and in Hebrew. We deliver it to you in both languages. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll speak to you very soon from the holy city of Jerusalem.